You're free to believe whatever you like in this country. So if you're an atheist, good for you. I happen to be a Christian. I happen to believe that our Christian values help me as a leader because they make me humble and empathetic and optimistic. And I think all of those qualities are vital in leadership. No one is coercing you in any way. However, many Christians are being coerced not to practice their religion. And so religious liberty is under assault in this country. When our federal government is suing the Little Sisters of the Poor in the Supreme Court, denying them their ability to practice their religion, that's a problem.
First of all, I'd say it's your fault for living in Texas.
Well, yeah.
Hey now.
I am awful and dirty and terrible, and I have these urges.
She's got a blow-up doll that looks like God.
Creationists are assholes.
And welcome to Atheist Airwaves, episode number 123. I'm Christian Ferris.
I'm Reb Spence.
I'm Ryan Trexler.
I'm Leslie Byerly.
And I'm Heather Schaefer, who just bailed on the show 30 minutes before airtime. He's undependable. Thank you for stepping in, Reb. Reb literally... Heather bailed. We couldn't get a technology solution to work. I messaged Reb, and Reb's like, "Oh, I'm getting in the car right now." Thank you.
And I did.
What a guy!
Really? Yeah. And so Reb has no idea what we're gonna talk about today.
Well, it also helps because I have like no life. So.
Well, video games are fun.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
We usually record every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Central. But my life has been an utter wreck this week. So last week's episode got out way late, and I had to postpone Tuesday's show because suddenly I had to get up for work at 3 a.m. And I think it might have been entertaining to see how loopy that would have gotten if I had just gone all day and
then did the show.
Yeah, but I was like, no.
I just want to point out that I've already missed 3 debates because of the shows on Tuesday. And the 1 week when it's not on Tuesday, we're doing the fucking show on that night.
I know, right?
But Trump's not going to be there anyhow, so
who cares?
Oh, that would have been such a better... It's going to be a better debate. I have no doubt
what is your definition of better?
It's going to be better.
More of a debate, not just y'all are all losers.
Yes, thank you.
But that's what makes the Republican debates worth watching.
I don't know. I mean, like, maybe the first one or two, but come on.
Yeah,
He gets old.
It gets very old.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it will be just boring now.
I think it's just
Let's
like...
just wait for snippets to
They're
come
going to be talking about how little God is doing stuff for them and how much they hate immigrants still, just now without a personality.
Yeah. I know. It's weird, though, that our show is always scheduled on top of the debate. That is, like, really weird. And it's going to be probably a weak night in the chat room because our chat room, those guys watch the debates, like all of them. There's always like one person in the chat room on debate nights.
Sorry, guy.
Depressed. Yeah, sorry for that one person in the chat room. As it's scrolling through, I can't tell.
They're probably watching the debate right now, and they just left the chat open.
Yeah, right. They're just going to come in and out. Just say something completely random and stupid when you tune back in. Our intro audio this week is candidate for president, speaking of the debate, although she's not invited, right?
No.
Carly Fiorina. She was responding to an atheist's question about religious liberty at an Iowa meet and greet event. And I might take a little bit of solace in the fact that she has no chance of becoming our next president or even becoming the Republican nominee, except that everyone else is as crazy or crazier than she is. What did you guys think about her comments? I think that sums it up. Can we move on?
Well, she's always like, she always brings up some bullshit thing that's happening out wherever. Like, who is she? She said the little
sisters of the poor.
They're okay. Isn't their whole thing that they don't want to have to fill out paperwork to claim that they're
Yes.
It's a religious exemption. That's just paperwork. So they're like the anti-paperwork candidate.
So them not being able to exercise their religion means they don't want to have to do the paperwork.
Right.
This is for the Hobby Lobby thing, right?
Right.
Because all right, so
let's explain the whole thing, please.
All right.
Okay, I'll do it. I thought you were going to.
Do you know what's going on? Because we don't.
So they're suing because the ACA requires them to provide contraception to their employees through their healthcare plan. They say that's against their religion. So Obama said, and thanks Obama, that, okay, well, if you decide you're not going to do that, you have to fill out this form so that we can hook your employees up with a third party to provide that. And they're arguing that is, I mean, what did she say?
It's a very basic form.
Right. Name, social security number, contact information, whatever.
I mean, as government forms go, this is like...
This is easier than the 1040 EZ.
Right.
And what did she say about that? They're coercing them into not practicing their religion. And that's filling out a form.
Right.
Does the form say, like, I love Satan?
But the only thing I can imagine is that they are so structured and rigorous that every minute of every day they're doing some religious thing. And so they don't have 2 minutes to fill out a form without,
But they can go before a lawsuit or
Right.
whatever.
They can show up in court.
Right.
Well, I thought their whole thing with the words signing the form was tacit approval that they would allow someone else to provide birth control to their employees.
No, it's just telling them that we're not providing this.
It's
right,
just-
but from
it's
their
just
point of
claiming-
view, that's
it's
what
just
they...
claiming your religious exemption.
Right.
It's like,
If
that's all it
that's
is.
their point of view, then their point of view is stupid, because that's all it is.
No,
They're
yes,
saying,
it's
look,
very
we're
stupid,
not
yeah.
providing this because it's against our religion. And, Obama, because he's super awesome, he's like, you know what? If you're not going to do that because you're stupid, then we're going to give another avenue for these people. We just need to know that you're not going to do it. You can bitch about it all you want. Just sign that paper that says you're not going to do it so that we can make sure that, if they want it, they can get it. And their position is, well, that's against our religion to say that we're not going to give somebody their insurance.
And this is what really bothers me about these people. I mean, like, she throws out the name, the Little Sisters of the Poor, and it sounds like, oh man,
Government's going after the little
the
sisters?
Little Sisters, and they're just trying to help the poor.
They're not little sisters. They're not the poor, and they
They're
don't do a whole lot to help the
They're
poor.
not from BioShock.
No.
They mostly probably complain about the government.
Yeah.
But it's not enough for them to say, we want to not provide contraception for our employees. They have to also stop other people from providing that to their employees. That's like so fucking sick.
Well, it's like if you follow that logic down the road, it's like, I can't live in a country where anyone uses birth control. I mean, if to the point where you can't even sign a paper, this case has like no chance of winning, right?
Oh, I think it might.
Yeah.
I think it does have a chance. And I'm okay with it if the court finds that signing a paper is an undue burden. And I don't mean that in the sense that, oh my God, filling out paperwork is so burdensome. The court may find that there is an alternative that, there's someone in the chat room. Woo! Okay.
Justin.
If the court finds that there is an alternative that is less burdensome, then they might win.
What is the only less burdensome
I guess
alternative?
if they make the employee fill out a piece of paper.
Or you are automatically opted out unless you opt in.
Or you're automatically opted in unless you opt out.
No, that's how it is now. So they're opted
everyone's
in.
opt in and then opt out with this piece of paper.
I'm talking about the individuals.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah. So
But as an organization, you're opted out unless you say, yeah, no, we're going to provide for, like, it's so not less burdensome in the grand scheme of things. It's just for like the two assholes that want to keep birth control from people.
No, I feel like they've already been given their out.
Yeah.
Like, how many more friggin' things do we have to give you to make you happy? I mean, you don't have to
until
provide...
we just stop doing that altogether.
Yeah, it's like eventually you're
I
going to
think
push it
that's
too
gonna
far,
happen.
and we're going to say, fuck you, provide birth control, and you're just going to have to fucking like it.
And roll back all your tax exemptions and shit like that.
Yeah, you got to... People can only take so much before they say just fuck you and fuck everything you're doing.
That... They muted everybody.
yeah, I muted everyone. Well, the micers will pick everything up. I didn't. I want to back up to the first things that she said in this quote. While less juicy, I think they were equally wrong. First thing I want to point out is that she's like this monotone robot woman.
Unless she's talking about Planned Parenthood. Then all of a
Does
sudden
she?
well, like during the first debate, she was like, they took the baby and they went and they put on the deal and it's wiggling and its brain was
And there's
everywhere.
video evidence of it.
Yeah, and she was very animated during that. It's like, oh, wow, that's scary.
I was probably doing this show, so I didn't see it. But she's usually like this. So I can't tell, like, at the first part when she said, "You're an atheist, good for you." I can't tell if she means "good for you" or if she means "good for you." I can't tell.
I can't tell the
Is
difference
she
between what yours were.
Yeah,
so.
your intonations weren't quite as
okay.
differentiated.
Was it sarcastic or not?
Yeah. Was it sarcastic or not? I was like, well, good for you. Whoopee.
No, I don't think she was being sarcastic. I think she was doing a slight individual pandering, which is how they do whenever they're.
She was being a politician.
If I were a Republican candidate, I would pander to atheist voters 0 times.
Right.
0
Yeah, it
times.
seems like you would get more
Very-
Christians that way.
We are
Yeah.
a very tiny percentage, so.
But
I
we
mean,
are the fastest growing.
right.
electoral
But
bloc, though.
if your base is the opposite of us, I would never pander. But I
It's-
think
it's-
that's what was going on.
It's not so much that we're a small minority because we outnumber Jewish people in this country. It's that atheists are tend to be more intelligent. They tend to be more liberal. And so they don't have to pander to atheists because most of us aren't going to vote for them.
I mean, if you guys remember, it's been almost a year since there was a Republican convention where Republican atheists spoke and did not.
Oh,
get
yeah, the lady,
received
what's her
well.
name?
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
Jamila
It
something.
did not go well.
Jamila Bay.
Like they were like everybody there was like, what?
Right.
Like, you're what? And I was like, you're what?
She made no one happy. Not them, not us. Yeah, that was not a good idea.
So, but Fiorina's she's had a pretty rough week too. Like, not just this.
Oh, yeah, with where she hijacked that
Yeah.
school field trip. Oh, my God. That was crazy.
I didn't read that. Someone told me what happened.
So basically, she showed up and was gonna do like this little press conference, and I'm not going to say kidnapped, but she drugged a bunch of kindergartners who were on a field trip into a room and talked about aborted fetuses.
And the field trip was to a botanical garden.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a hospital or something. It was just like, hey, kids, you want to see flowers? Come over here and look at this dead baby fetus thing. And I'm going to talk about pro-life measures.
Yeah,
We
and
could
she's
sit-
going to talk about, and she was talking about like processes and stuff like in
very graphic
with it-
process in
yeah.
front of all these preschoolers.
Wow.
Dude, their parents were furious because they had no idea. Their kids went off that day for
botanical
preschool to the
gardens.
botanical gardens and came home and showed up on TV that night at a
Mommy, the dead babies, there's blood everywhere. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Although she's got the right idea. Get them
been-
early.
it's been an amazingly bad week for Republicans in general.
Yeah, especially with the whole Planned Parenthood. I don't,
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I don't know if we're talking about that later, but
No, we're not. But yeah, they indicted the people who made those dumb edited live videos.
yeah.
That's good. Woo! I can't
That
wait.
she really loved.
Right.
I mean, her whole platform was that.
That was the
Yeah.
only
Yeah,
reason.
that's-
Like the only bump she got was that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a short-lived bump too.
Yeah.
It was a baby bump.
It was so horrible.
I'm so
It was-
proud of that.
I'm gonna cut our fingers just because.
I'm going to be bragging about that on every show for the rest of the year, just so everyone knows. So the first claim that Fiorina made in her statements was that no one is coercing atheists in every way, in any way, which first of all makes it clear to me that she doesn't listen to our show, which kind of hurts my feelings a little bit.
I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Because every week we're talking about grade schools, high schools, preschools, city halls, state capitals, where literally they're taking children and telling them they're evil or stupid for being atheists, where people are being forced to pray, where people are being religion rammed down our throats on a weekly basis. I mean, we don't even cover all the stories that happen on a weekly basis in this show. And she's going to sit there and say that atheists are never coerced into being Christians?
This show could run 24/7, and we wouldn't cover every story about atheists being coerced or ridiculed or guilted into doing things against their lack of beliefs.
She needs to get the fuck out with
Right.
that. And then meanwhile, that's not a big deal. Being forced to pray, being called evil, being called stupid. And we're talking about like grade school kids. We're talking about kids who are like 13 and younger that this is happening to. That's no big deal. That's not coercion. But asking little old nuns to fill out a piece of paper, that's Christian persecution. Holy shit, this... I can't even with her. Hemant Mehta of the Friendly Atheist blog asked the atheist who asked that question of her how he felt about the answer, because apparently he's been going around Iowa and asking these questions of all of the Republican...
I wonder if he's the same guy that asked Rubio his atheist question.
I think it is.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it is. And he asked him what, how he felt about Carly Fiorina's answer to his question. And he said, quote, "It was probably one of the most unempathetic answers that I've gotten during this whole experience, and that even includes the cold shoulder that I got from Donald Trump. At least the Donald," okay, dude, "signed an autograph for me, thanked me for coming, and told me to take care as he walked away from me." I think that if you're doing worse than Donald Trump in the charm and being nice department.
But, well, he's charming and nice to people, though,
What?
on a regular basis.
Who?
But, like,
Donald Trump?
Like
Okay.
the people he chooses to charm and be nice to.
in one-to-one contact with people, he is nice to people. He would normally not seem like he'd be nice to anyway, because he's a businessman, and that's what makes good business.
Like Megyn Kelly or Rosie O'Donnell?
Yeah,
But those are big personalities.
that's-
though.
I'm talking about like just someone that he meets, someone living in one of his buildings, or someone visiting any of one of his things. Or people, because what he's talking about, he got a signed autograph. This isn't like a question he asked them in front of everybody. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right.
So
Yeah, the
he
Donald.
is charming.
Yeah, the Donald doesn't seem like somebody that would, on a 1-to-1 call, like.
Call you a rapist because you're a Mexican. or
Right.
something.
Yeah, no, he would never do that
No.
because he's not in front of a microphone and he can't gain anything by it. And he probably, like, in his heart, I don't think the
He doesn't
Donald
have a
believes.
heart.
Donald, now you're doing it too.
I don't think the Donald really believes. I don't think that rich asshole, which is what my browser calls him every time it pops up, the rich asshole. I don't think he really believes, like, three-quarters of the things he says. He's
I
just
agree.
doing it because that's what works in the Republican Party.
I think it's because he's smart. He's shrewd.
Yeah, no, he's not stupid. I mean, he's not smart,
Right.
but he's not stupid.
Yeah.
And, a not stupid person can be trained very well, just like monkeys.
I don't know much about Donald Trump's personality or whatever, because I really don't. I've literally cared nothing about him until he suddenly became. Is that? Oh,
Move
thank
the
you.
thing.
I forgot that I could do that.
Yeah.
I literally cared nothing about him until he became like possibly our next president. Which, holy shit,
When him and Gary Busey were doing The Apprentice, I found that to be interesting.
never saw it.
I didn't watch it.
Never saw
That
it.
was some good TV right there. You missed some good stuff.
I don't believe you.
I do not either. But I've heard from other people, like there was that story about Hillary Clinton coming into Beaumont, Texas, and she like blew by all the people that lined up at the airport to see her. And one of the guys was a Trump supporter, and he said, I came out here because I came to see Trump, and he came over and was very personable. And then Hillary Clinton just blew them all off. It's like, I was just hoping to see if she was as personable as Donald Trump was. So I guess he must connect with people, but he just seems so slimy and...
I mean, despite what you think, he's a relatively successful businessman after all. So he makes a living, glad-handing people.
He's kind of Bill Clinton in his business world.
I think Bill
Remember-
Clinton is actually more smooth than he is, though. I mean, I don't believe...
Well, yeah.
Like, I believe Bill Clinton when he's like, how are you doing? I believe that. When Donald Trump's doing it, and he's like, 2 Corinthians, what are... it's like,
It was so great.
Yeah.
So and to that point, I would not buy Donald Trump playing the saxophone on Arsenio. Like, I'd be like, nope. But Bill Clinton worked.
Someone should ask Donald Trump the boxers or briefs question. I don't know if anyone remembers that from Bill Clinton's.
He probably
election.
has his Trump branded boxers.
Oh, that's right. It's made in China.
Made in China, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. So there is a creepy ritual that Catholics do, and I want to talk about that part of this story before we get on to recent announcements about it.
Yeah, because I don't understand it.
Yeah, yeah. So in the New Testament, after Jesus does big arms at the Last Supper, and if you don't get that reference, go to YouTube, Eddie Izzard, and do that. So after he does big arms, he gets down on his knees and he washed the feet of his apostles. And I'm going to read a brief passage that kind of describes the whole thing. Because it's not like the priesthood made up this creepy ritual where they wash feet and stuff.
They did.
Well, right, but I mean it has a basis in a biblical story is my point.
Okay.
So this is from John 13 verses 2 to 14, skipping a whole bunch of the boring stuff in the middle. And it reads, "The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power." You'd think he would have done that on day one, but apparently not until Jesus. "And that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist."
Sounds hot.
Yes.
It should just be like the ambient music
The whole time.
and the whole show.
All right. "After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that he wrapped around him. When he had finished,
It doesn't work if you're laughing. You got to keep the nice sultry voice.
When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. 'Do you understand what I have done for you?' he asked them. 'You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash one another's feet.'" And I kind of imagine that this was the point at which the first "now kiss" meme, because it sounds like he's like, "Now you guys do it, and I'm going to sit over here and watch you
It
do
sounds like
this."
there's a bunch of grown men bending over, and things happen from there.
Now you wash his feet.
That's what I'm saying.
There was a lot of wine that night. Water. A lot of water.
So
Oh, that's so great.
so this is the thing that they do in the Catholic Church.
Yes.
Did you do this when you were in the Catholic?
No. So priests do this. So this didn't happen until the 12th century. Popes and priests started to wash dudes' feet during the Easter, actually the Thursday before Good Friday, that mass. They would get 12 dudes and wash their feet and then kiss them, which isn't in the Bible verse, but I guess if you're already fondling dudes' feet, they're like, "I think I can probably suck on some toes while I'm down here and no one's going to say shit to me." I feel like that's what that was
Plus,
about.
if it's like the Pope, like who's gonna
Right.
say like the Pope totally sucked off my feet? It was so hot.
Or it was so creepy, and we can't do anything about it. So for 900 years now, popes have been doing their foot fetish thing, and then Pope Francis did something appalling to the tradition. In 2013, despite the fact that official church rule states that you have to be kissing dude feet, Pope Francis also did 2 chicks. Oh, yeah.
Wait, did he do 2 chicks at the same time?
At the same time. Well, no, I think he did one and then he did the other one.
Oh, okay.
There's like a line for this shit. So, you do a few.
But were they in the line with other men?
Were they?
Yeah. There were like 10 men and 2 chicks.
It's like a Pope train.
Unfortunately, yes, that's what it is.
What's wrong with these fucking people anyway? I mean, like even if you're in it, why do you think, oh, this is okay?
Well, don't usually they're like criminals, right? Like they get them out of.
What?
I thought that was the whole they get them out of like juvie or something, and.
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's something
Originally,
else.
they would choose poor men, but I don't think criminals. And then a lot of times, especially when the Pope does it, it was like priests and deacons and stuff, people who wanted the Pope to suck on their toes, I guess. I don't know.
They sign up for it.
Yeah.
There's no serve for it.
It's gonna be quite the power trip, right? It's like this, right? It's like goddamn toes.
There's a raffle, probably. There's a Catholic raffle. It's like the Pope is going to lick your toes.
There's a whole bunch of videos in the basement.
I mean, there is that congressman who stole the Pope's water when he spoke in front of Congress,
Oh my
and then was like passing it around so everyone could get a drink of Pope
That's so
backwash.
fucking weird and
Right.
gross.
And so
so
you
gross.
know that, people would pay a lot of money to have the Pope lick their feet, right? I mean, that has to be a thing.
Yeah, Pope, deeper. Take that toe deeper.
Why is everything to do with the church so fucking creepy? Why? Why?
Because it's all creepy.
I
It's a
know.
creepy establishment.
It is. I don't know. And it's been a creepy establishment for centuries. Actually, millennia, because the early Christian church, some of those splinter groups, they did some really weird stuff. So,
I mean, that's kind of in the same vein as like sex cult stuff, right? I mean, they're just more mainstream because they just do feet stuff.
But why would they? Okay, why would they? Why are they washing feet? Why are they washing their feet?
Because Jesus did.
Because
Didn't
Jesus
you not
did
hear that?
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they think they're Jesus or something?
Well, a lot of the customs are in the Catholic Church are based around things that Jesus did. That's why only men can be priests, because
Right.
there were only men apostles.
And, the whole Holy Sacrament thing was because that was something Jesus said. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's where they get most of their...
you gotta go to the source material that's canon. You can't use extended universe stuff. You gotta stay strictly canon on all of this.
For the communion, the same thing with the bread and the wine and blood of the blood and all the rest of that stuff. So, I mean, a lot of it's based just, did Jesus do it? All right, we're going to emulate that. And you see that happen in a lot of religions where there'll be some ancient story about something. It's like, now we're all going to walk around this tree 5 times or whatever because this person did it.
Yeah, we talked on the show last week about Pakistan rejecting the child bride bill that would get rid of the young kids. And the reason was because Muhammad married a child bride. And they're like, well, it's un-Islamic to say I can't marry 6-year-olds.
That is their only reasoning, by the way. That was it.
Literally
That's it.
the only
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's just kind of like the religionist thing. So that happened. He did 2 chicks for the first time 3 years ago. I don't know if it was his first time. It was the church's first time to have a pope doing 2 chicks.
Wonder if he was like, man, this thing's so gay. I'd rather get some chicks in there or something.
I feel like that was his coming out. I'm bi, motherfuckers, and so that's how I feel about it. But this week, Pope Francis finally announced that he's changed the official rule, and now he's allowed to do chicks too if he wants to. Because I'm bi, motherfuckers.
If I was a pope, I'd start changing rules
Right?
too.
It's good to be Pope.
And this dude has to give me back rubs. That's a new rule too. I'm infallible.
Can we get one of those electronic massage chairs up in here? I feel like Jesus would have approved.
I really feel, this is great for gender equality. They're treating women just like men. But I think I'm okay if I'm being discriminated against by not having a creepy old dude suck my toes. I think I'd be okay with that kind of discrimination.
I wouldn't speak for women, but like you said, this would be one time I'd be like, no, it's okay. Go ahead. Just discriminate.
Right.
This one time. That's fine.
We're all good. I'm good. Yeah.
And it's so weird because if there was just a group of people that are into toe stuff, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But it's the creepy way that
Making it this public
Yeah.
spectacle of holiness.
Yeah, and putting it in as part of your religion.
It's like just record it, put it on Pornhub.
Yeah.
It'll get plenty
There's a
of
lot of
views.
feet washing going on in heaven.
I'm just saying, it wouldn't creep me out if they weren't trying to pretend, oh, this is totally not. It's not creepy, you guys. This is totally just you know, what, and you know, like Peter in the thing was just like, dude, don't wash my feet. I really no, you don't have to. No, you don't have to do that.
My toes are
what's
all
the feet-
fucked up.
What's the feet washing thing in Islam?
Oh, and it's all-
Don't
Oh,
know.
don't
They have they every day.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
well, washing in general in Islam,
And-
you have to do.
yeah.
And there are a lot of Muslim students at my the university where I work, and any bathroom you go into, it's like a pool of water around
Right.
the sinks because they wash their feet, they put their feet in the sinks, they're washing their heads, and
Don't they have showers at home?
well, yeah, they have to do it during
Yeah.
the day,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
so they end up
But
doing it in
Through
just
their
restrooms.
nose too, kind of like the
Yeah.
netty thing, but they just
Oh, I hate neti pots. I don't think I could be. I can't be Muslim.
well they
Aw.
don't use neti pots, but you know that's,
Yeah, but
it's still the
I
same.
can't do that up the nose anything.
Anyway,
Well, you're not missing anything, so you're all right.
It seems like we're stuck with Ryan now.
He's not going back, guys.
Thanks for sounding so disappointed.
So New Year's Eve in Cologne, Germany this year, or I guess that was last year since it's New Year's Eve. 3 weeks ago in Cologne, Germany, the holiday was marked by mob sex assaults committed apparently by mostly North African men. Estimates are that up to 2,000 men may have participated in the attacks. There were at least 3 rapes of women in public, 521 sexual assaults, and over 800 complaints filed. Women were fondled. The men tried to put their hands in their underwear and insert fingers into their vaginas. I don't know why I'm making this gesture while I'm talking. And this is a group of 2,000 men.
How do you organize that?
I
guess Twitter, but I mean, like, I don't know. It just seems like hey, you want to like get in a crowd of like 2,000 dudes and go and like molest women? Sure, that sounds like fun. Like, I mean,
The police so far have said there's no evidence whatsoever that there was any sort of planning or organization, that it was just spontaneous. Which,
This mob
Bullshit.
mentality thing.
but at the same time,
You
this happened in multiple cities in Germany, and it sounds like a coordinated plan to me. But they said, they arrested people and they looked into their social media and they got their phones and there's no messages.
so they just went in a bar, like, hey guys, we're all gonna go molest women. Yeah,
Which is
let's
fun-
all go. Like,
Everyone had the same idea at the same time. I just don't know.
Well, no, I mean,
that's total bullshit.
see, well, I'm actually interested in that opinion because this totally sounds like mob mentality with a lack of repercussions in what people do, because people are terrible fucking humans.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I'm completely not surprised that this wasn't coordinated, that it was like, oh my God, look, there's so many of us, and look, that guy just got away with doing that. I'm going to do that too.
I don't know. I would feel better if it was a coordinated plan thing.
It would
than
feel better, but
then like 2,000 people independently said, hey, this sounds like a great idea. We should do this.
I would feel better if there was an actual heaven to go after.
But, like, they
to when
came
I
as, like,
die,
a-
but that's not a real thing.
they came as like a big mob, right? Like, it wasn't just like a big square of people and one person started doing it.
There
and
was
then-
a big crowd of people, period. I mean,
New
it was a New Year's
Eve.
Eve.
Imagine New York.
Oh, so
City.
what? One guy just started doing it, and they're like, "We can do that here? Oh, cool, awesome!" I mean, that's how it
We
happened.
love Germany. I don't know.
I don't know. This doesn't make any sense to me. See, it seems like the people that they
Right.
arrested, they would be like, "Oh yeah, that guy that like he stood up and told everyone to rape women or something." Like, I don't know. It seems like I don't know how that just happens organically.
It doesn't make sense to you because you're not a horrid human being.
I guess.
Wait, what? Let's
Well,
back
okay.
off that. He's not that kind of horrid human being. So obviously, most of these men were Muslims, which
Obviously.
yes,
Oh, okay. I don't
They
know.
were, but
I haven't
yeah.
read the story, so
okay, yeah. Welcome
If
to the
you've
show,
read
Ralph.
the story, obviously.
They're from Muslim countries, basically, and that kind of strikes me. And I know this happens a lot, even in Muslim countries, and it just and it's even worse than that because men will rape women. Muslim men will rape Muslim women. The Muslim men get pardoned by the courts, and the Muslim women end up getting caned for getting raped
Or killed.
or killed. And I just don't understand how a religion like this that is so uptight, so oppressive and anti-sex and anti-sexual activity ends up with and like kills you for stuff. Like easily. They kill you easy. Ends up with dudes who do this kind of thing, which you would think would be anti-Islamic.
This surprises you?
It does. Well, it doesn't surprise me, but it generates a lot of cognitive dissonance.
Well,
I
it's
guess.
like one thing to be like, oh, well, everyone's going to look down on me if they know I lost my virginity before I got married, as opposed to I might get killed. Well, I guess they don't kill the guys. They only kill the
guys,
women.
yeah.
So, and I guess the women probably do a pretty good job at not, having sex too often, I suppose. It's really only the guys that seem to be violating the sex stuff.
What? Who are they?
Well,
whom?
well, I mean, I assume like when it comes to like sexual immorality in the Muslim culture, I guess would be primarily dudes violating it, as opposed to women violating the sexual mores.
But they would be violating it with the women, right?
Well, unless they force themselves on the woman, like willfully entering into sexually immoral behavior.
I would have to imagine, even in Muslim countries, that there are far more consensual sexual relationships than non-consensual. The reason we're talking about this now, 3 weeks after New Year's Eve, is this, and this may cast some light on why they think this. This week, an imam spoke out in defense of the men's activity. Abu Yusuf went on television to say, quote, "The events of New Year's Eve were the girls' own fault because they were half naked and wearing perfume. It's not surprising that men wanted to attack them. Dressing like that is like adding fuel to the fire." I'm not sure if I personally have a rapey fire, and I'm not sure if that's actually a thing.
It's like I could see like having like a libido and be like, oh man, that chick's hot.
I'm gonna
I
go
totally
talk to
do
her,
her
right.
or whatever. But like to go and bash him over the head and throw him on the ground and go. I mean, it seems like there should be a cutoff.
Well, I think what he's saying though is that the men are the victims in this case.
Which is the way they frame everything.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's why the men get pardoned and the women don't. Is that they
have no control over their actions.
Right.
It's all
They've been coerced by those women's sexy perfume.
Well, and I guess also the big thing is a patriarchal power structure. So you have a bunch of guys up there be like, well, I find it hard to control myself, so I can see why another guy might have a hard time controlling himself. So it's not really his fault. So whereas if you had more women up there, they'd be like, nah, fuck that. I would assume.
Well, I mean, you just look at what they do to their women. They put them in body bags, so that you can only see a little slit for their eyes. They view women as, I mean, it's kind of like public schools here in the United States, as such distractions that men can't possibly help themselves if they happen to see one.
or in Kentucky.
Right.
Did you see that one?
I'm not sure. What was that one?
I don't know what the dress code for women at the Senate or something. Okay.
At the Senate?
Senate? Yeah, maybe.
Oh, I was thinking of a different story.
Oh no.
I remember something
Keep
about a
talking, I'll
judge
look it
that made dress code rules for women, and guys were like, guys know how to dress, but girls, you apparently don't know what's up. Stop wearing cleavage stuff, and titty dresses. And
Please
stuff.
don't stop doing it.
Who comes up with those stupid rules?
Right? Why? And the whole banning yoga pants thing is like, I feel like those are the real enemy in this country. Those people. So now, of course, because we've got a whole bunch of vigilante groups out there assaulting women, vigilante groups have popped up, and they're out assaulting immigrants and asylum seekers because that'll fucking help. Good job.
Is a vigilante considered a vigilante if they're not fighting crime?
Well, sexual assault would be.
Well, no, like they're. Never mind.
Okay.
I'm getting into semantics. It's just edit that out.
So you're being Reb.
I also want to make clear though that at least in the United States, if you look at areas where massive amounts of immigrants come in, crime goes down. This is, I want to say, this seems to not be typical, at least in this country. And I've talked to a lot of people from Europe who will say, oh, we have a much bigger problem over here. You don't know what it's like, blah, blah, blah. But they always end up exaggerating how many Muslims are in their country and overblowing what will happen. And I'm not trying to overblow this because this is a truly horrific event. But it's not normal. It's not
the exception, not the rule.
At least at the moment.
Right. And I see events like this happen, and then where the problem lies is then 3 weeks later, an imam comes in and says, "Oh, this is okay. These guys didn't do anything wrong. It was a women's fault." There's the problem. Like, if people did bad things and then got the repercussions from those things, they would stop doing them. That's I mean not all of them. Like, there's always going to be criminals that do bad things, but you can't make it acceptable for 2,000 people and 800 complaints of sexual assault. Like, that in no way can any person of any authority say this is acceptable.
Here's the question I want to pose to you guys. If this becomes a new norm, this is a thing that starts happening as because really we're in a refugee crisis right now. There are more people pouring out of the Middle East right now than we've seen in terms of refugees since World War II. If these kinds of incidents happening in countries that are taking people from these countries becomes kind of an annual thing, a monthly thing, a quarterly thing, do you stop helping the majority of people who are just good people? Maybe they have stupid religious beliefs, but they're good people, good citizens. Do you stop bringing them in? I feel it's murky.
Yes.
I don't feel like
you do stop
helping.
Them.
I don't.
If
really,
you cannot, if you don't have, like, I don't even. Our country doesn't have what it takes to. I mean, look at how we handle the crisis now of just the kids, like how they're exploited.
Which
Here,
kids? I
just
don't know what
coming
you're
from where Honduras,
Oh,
and whatever,
the Central American kids being
right.
like raped on
Yeah,
the...
no, we don't.
Well, that's not generally like Americans in America raping the children. It's usually them on the way with the coyotes, right?
Yeah, but then they come to Houston
They've found-
and are
no,
kidnapped and
right.
working in a brothel
really?
under
Oh.
lock and key.
Oh.
Yeah, these
No,
things
it's
happen.
not pretty. So I don't trust our government to handle it.
I
I do
okay,
not
but-
trust our government to handle it.
So you say yes, turn people away, let them deal with being shelled or killed or raped in their own countries?
Not necessarily.
I feel like
That's my question, though.
The happy medium would be yes, accept the people. If there's a precedent set for behavior from refugees, maybe some sort of education program you can put. I mean, it's going to cost money, but that's the nature of goodwill, I guess.
That was my idea. Like, if it is not working, like if in Cologne
They have
type
those
of-
programs in Europe, though.
if this type of thing keeps happening,
Well, I
then
know
you
in
need
like
to
Norway
continue.
they do.
You need to continue to change and modify the way that you're dealing with an influx of people that are have a different culture than you, and also make it unacceptable for people to say this is acceptable. Like this guy,
Right.
like
Well, in the mosque that this guy...
What do you do with them?
Well, let
in
me just offer this, because the mosque this guy's a part of has been raided.
mm-hmm.
They've had their members arrested in the past because they were fomenting radicalism and terrorism and all of that. So I feel like that's what you do.
right.
And we've talked about in the wake of the Paris attacks, the French government really cracked down on mosques, and they're like, if you're a shady mosque, you're gonna be shut down. And if you can demonstrate that to a judge, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we have to have a full plan in place. Don't just we need to plan.
Well, yeah,
But-
any country that brings in refugees, and if you notice there's a pattern of behavior, you're going to have some sort of plan in place. It's going to cost money.
And the people to do it.
Right, yeah. There's going to be training on not only of the refugees, but of the people in your country who are going to be helping to educate
Right,
the people.
right.
It's a big, massive undertaking.
I don't necessarily trust our own people.
Well, I think the problem
Does that make
is
sense?
we're-
It's like
most of the countries right now are reactive to the refugee crisis right now. They're not being proactive about it. So we knew this stuff in Syria was going to start happening, way back forever.
yeah.
The refugee crisis isn't something new, but instead of actually prepping and trying to prepare themselves, most of these countries just turn your head away. I don't want to deal with it. And now that it's on your doorstep, now it's too late.
And sadly, like I felt like Germany was one of the more proactive countries in dealing with refugees. I mean, they have a million people that they've committed to taking in, and
Although they're waffling on that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
Which
it's
I
gonna
don't-
happen. Did they just vote in new people too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, 1 million people Germany. I mean, might think of it as a big major powerhouse, but it's like 40 or 50 million people total in Germany. So you're talking like.
But they're an economic power in
They're an
Europe.
economic power, but you're talking about like 1/8 of the population of the United States. So you imagine all the issues that the American people have with taking in 12,000 immigrants, and you're talking about taking in 1 million. So yeah, it was a much bigger deal. So.
Well, one that none of those countries over there have barely prepped for, especially
Right.
when it comes to integration of people into a society. They're just absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is probably the biggest problem.
So now that statement led me to a question. Like, there was a time when, people jumped in ships and came to the United States and landed on Ellis Island, and did they get integration training?
No.
Did we have experts
there-
There
to
were
help?
problems.
Yeah, there
Do you
were
know what-
problems.
Do
There
you know what
were
their integration training was?
Put
Irish need not apply.
Yeah, and you live in your own neighborhood in New York City.
Or, you learn to talk like American, and then you can have a job. I mean, and that's not a good way of doing it. Right? Because, I mean, it's super easy for Irish people to integrate. Because you come over, if you can ditch the brogue, you're okay. You can pass as just a regular white guy. You can
Right.
say, "Oh, I'm English. I'm Dutch. Whatever." If you're talking like Lucky from Lucky Charms, you're gonna be discriminated against.
I have a new post-show topic.
Do tell me, so we'll forget otherwise.
Oh, so I watched.
I mean, don't tell the whole thing, but
Just a one-sentence synopsis.
I watched a documentary on Netflix called "Being Ginger."
oh Jesus! All right,
Yeah.
I'm adding it to the lineup.
But to be clear, that system wasn't good in early America.
Right.
And the system, or the non-existent system barely that they have now in a lot of these European countries, isn't good either.
Right.
But everyone's we're just coming out of the end of an economic crisis for most of these countries. So a lot of them didn't have the resources to put towards something that was a couple years away. So I understand why they're where they're at, but something has to be done.
I think that we should have citizenship classes that address cultural norms. So in Canada and in the United States, I think we have problems where especially immigrants from Muslim countries are upset that their male offspring have to go to school with other people's female offspring. And I figure if we're talking about, hey, here's the Constitution, here's the Bill of Rights, also, hey, this is what we think about gender relations and sexism. And this is just something that is a part of life here in America, instead of just saying, hey, come on in and sit down, do your own thing in your own neighborhood and whatever. Maybe just education is part of at least...
That's idealistic as fuck, but go ahead.
Well, but I mean, I feel like because if these people show up at school board meetings and they're like, this is horrible, blah, 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 because they don't know. No one has told them.
Okay, so at school board meetings, like what I did it again. Hasidic Jews did,
Wait,
and
what?
wherever the Jews that took over the
In
Orthodox
school board
New
and
York
everything,
City.
Jews
yeah.
that took over the school board,
Yeah.
that could happen.
Sure.
I have a whole issue with thinking that not raping women needs to be addressed as a social norm. Like, this story that we're talking about is people raping and sexually assaulting women. Like,
Well, if it
that
truly,
doesn't seem like something you should have to go over.
well, if it truly,
No, I gotta go with Ryan on this one.
if it truly was born out of just mob incitement, one guy started doing it because he's an asshole, and everyone else started hooting and hollering, and then other people went and whatever. Anyhow,
which is how
whatever they do in Cologne, I don't know what they do there.
They probably don't hoot and holler, but okay.
But if it truly came from a mob mentality, maybe educating people like these are how people party, and this usually a lot of women probably take off their top and run around topless. If you can't handle it, maybe you shouldn't go out on maybe that would be a good way of educating them potentially about how people are with their bodies.
Tell him.
That's idealistic as fuck.
Yes.
But like I said, that would play into we'd have some sort of cultural education program.
Yeah, I think that
I think it's absolutely necessary. Anytime you have immigrants come into a country, especially ones from the Middle East, seems to be a completely different social norm than what you would
Ryan's
find.
gonna go boom.
This sounds like the top 10 ways to avoid rape for men. Like if you wear rape whistles, so if you feel like you're about to rape somebody, you can blow the whistle
Right.
so somebody can come and stop you.
Wouldn't
Like,
it be better to teach men not to rape than to teach women not to go outside in skimpy clothes?
right, but this is part of like the laws that this isn't
Right.
social integration. This is like you don't do this. You don't kill people. You don't
but you would
rape people.
but you would have to tell people that.
Are they? I mean, are they not making? If they're really not making people aware of the laws of the country,
They come from a culture where their religious leaders, and their religious leaders are frequently their political leaders, who say women are so tempting and so evil in their bodies that if you see them, you will not be able to control yourself. And so if you think about it from that perspective, yeah, you kind of do have to tell them, no, you do have to, it's your responsibility. You're not going to be pardoned in our country the way you would be pardoned in Pakistan. You will be arrested. She's going to get treatment, and she's going to be protected from you. You are going to spend time in jail. I think that's a reasonable thing to think that you have to educate these people about.
All right. So I'm not going to make the anti-argument from Germany perspective, but from America perspective, can you really tell immigrants that, hey, you can't expect that your religious views are going to be respected in our laws because they're not the right religion? But I mean,
Right. That's what I was thinking about.
I mean, Republican and other
Yeah, if you're
politicians are saying like, look, God is more important than the United States law. Like, how hypocritical is that?
And to be clear, not every Muslim is going to need this type
Yes,
of moral education training on societal norms and stuff like that.
Can we send
But-
some of Americans to it?
That might be helpful. But if you notice that there is a statistical chance that these people from this area tend to engage in this kind of behavior more often, then it may be helpful for society as a whole to educate all the people from that area.
All right, I'm going to have the last word. I think that atheists should be put in charge of this program so we can go into the rooms with these Muslims and say, bro, we're not Christians. You're not Christians. Let's tell you how it is in America. Christians will fuck you up. That's what's going to happen.
We all have guns here.
Their crosses have blades. And
Right. Exactly.
In the training, if I was the one developing the training program, it wouldn't be, accusatory, like, hey, you motherfucker, if you rape someone. It would be like, I would try to make it as inclusive and happy as possible.
That.
But,
Put happy faces on.
I mean, I think it's important that,
Oh, Jesus Christ. Good. Talk about it. Post show. That's post show. Jesus Christ. I'll add it to
I was
the
wrong.
fucking list. Sorry, people. You're gonna stay tuned for the post show, and you'll see what I'm cursing about. Corpus Christi Atheist meets every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. This weekend we will be meeting at Snoopy's.
Yeah, it's got to be Snoopy's because there's
Snoopy's.
B&J's and
Yeah. Snoopy's is on the island, so if you don't know what that is, head over to seecatheists.com. for a list of our public events. So this week in our How to Better Commit a Crime, a Michigan man died this week after rolling his car while masturbating to porn on the highway. The driver was not wearing his seatbelt at the time, and he was partially ejected through the sunroof. So you can guess, as the car rolled, what happened to this man.
Wait, he was
Which portion?
he was driving down the road
Yep.
masturbating.
Yes.
While watching porn on his phone,
Oh,
Yeah.
what a way to go.
right?
Yeah.
All right.
So we've... Go ahead.
Okay, I just real quick show of hands. Has anybody masturbated while driving?
I have touched myself while in the car.
Oh, wow. Everybody.
So,
That's crazy.
like never to fruition, but just kind of like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not to fruition.
Oh,
That's crazy. I thought I was going to, like, shame people and, like, tease people, but no, okay. That's... Wow, that's...
No, well, I have had like roadhead before, but I try to stay away from that because I think it's kind of scary personally. Like, this, like,
What?
well, like, cause I'm driving, it's like, oh, you get close and you got the pedal and the driving and you're paying attention. For me, I think roadhead's kind of dangerous, so I try not to, like if I'm with a woman and like that's it's like, well, let's wait till we get home, or
Dude, you were...
wow.
I can't even with you right now.
I'm so scared I'm gonna die. So
Okay, Poindexter.
especially when it's like I could be comfortable at home.
He has a point. I've almost died a few times.
Yeah.
But it was worth it, right?
But yeah, but
Yeah,
still.
right.
Listen, I did it once or twice. It's like I would rather just get a blowjob while sitting comfortably at home, in bed or on the couch or something.
Makes the drive go way
I mean,
faster.
so you're gonna do it every week or something.
I don't know. I feel like I would rather wait. Plus, like, if I'm getting a blowjob in the car, chances are I'm getting blowjobs pretty regularly anyhow. I don't need one while I'm in the car too.
I don't know. Like, I feel like...
There's never enough blowjobs.
That's where I'm coming from. I'm just like, if... Yeah. I don't care how many. Okay. So, everyone but Reb, because I am disappointed in you, sir. Does anyone else have masturbating while driving tips for people who want to do this kind of thing and not die?
Don't watch porn.
That's a good one. That's kind of lazy, right? I mean, it's kind of lazy to use a...
Like the just masturbating while driving at 70 miles an hour should be enough turn on.
That's danger enough,
Right.
I mean, if you're gonna watch porn, I would get one of those little phone holders that you can stick onto your
Sure,
dashboard.
you don't
wanna do that.
Did he have that?
He may have had that.
Yeah.
It's
no.
not clear. So he may have.
I mean, I am also guilty of like watching things on my phone
Right.
while I'm driving, and to be fair, I'm not like really watching them intently, but
Sure.
like if there's a
And not
football
like,
game on,
and not like when you're
What?
driving in city type stuff.
No,
this,
sure.
This is Texas. We
Highway.
have these very, very long, just straight,
yes,
nothing happening, no cars around you type of roads
if you
that you
don't
end up
live
on.
if you don't live in Texas,
You
you
don't
don't,
know.
understand how big Texas is and how
If
much
you're-
nothing there is.
If you're
Yeah.
a young person preparing for your driving exam, don't listen to anything we're saying.
yeah, don't.
Has anyone ever gotten roadhead while taking a driving exam? That would be amazing. That's like living the dream.
from
right
the
there.
instructor.
Right, yeah. Or just like
Mad game, yeah.
I think mostly my advice for people who are doing this, beyond don't watch things on your phone while you're doing it, is wear your fucking seatbelt.
Yeah, and like one distraction is enough.
Yeah. And, make sure you're insured when you do it, because I feel like...
When you drive.
Right, or drive anywhere. Yeah.
Well, I would figure like cleanup would be a big issue. Like you're jerking off and then you.
That's
you,
a lack of imagination.
and now like
That
lack of
sucks.
imagination.
and now it's like, oh, it's on my pants and on my hand and everything. It's like, what do I do with all this now?
I
Like,
feel so privileged.
so it's like if you don't have like tissues in the car or something, then you're gonna like wipe it on like the
the
passenger
bottom
seat
of
or
the
something. Like, oh, I don't want jizz all over my fucking car.
So we're buying a used car again.
At least not Ryan's used car.
So this guy made a few mistakes. So he had multiple distractions going on. He's driving in a car with a sunroof, which first off, they leak. Second of all, if you're like, people can see in your sunroof, and I'm assuming this was a little sedan or whatever, and coming from somebody
Isn't that part of the
Coming?
excitement
What?
though?
coming
Like
from
people seeing?
seeing you, well, coming from
Maybe.
somebody who used to drive and has driven commercial big trucks, like we can see in your sunroofs. So the things you are doing, especially in small sedans, are totally visible. So I recommend getting a really large vehicle like a semi, which I've also done.
What else are you gonna do, right?
So and try to, I just wouldn't put myself out there with a sunroof. Was it open? Is that how he went flying out the window?
Yeah.
Like
Wait,
that's just
does he go out the top?
Yeah, he went up the top.
Well, because it flipped and then gravity
He was-
pulled him
okay.
through, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so maybe he had a problem with lube, like because if there's all that wind, like that shit's gonna dry up pretty quick. Have you ever tried to have sex in front of an air conditioner or running fan? Like
Yeah.
It dries up.
Right. But I assume you don't have like your AC
I
vents
don't know what they're talking
in your
about.
car aimed directly at your crotch. Like I don't know who has AC
How
vents
much-
that do that.
Wait. But by yourself, how much lube do you really need?
I always like lube.
It's like, do you need like full
Whoa.
drag?
And I feel like we have like really hit bottom on the show now.
really up.
But I mean, enjoy versus need. Do you really need?
oh, I'm done without.
yeah. Come on.
Oh, I'm generally I don't like a whole bunch of lube. I like to be a little bit like when for self pleasure. But
Reb is fastidious. That's what I'm getting from this.
I don't know. I just the mess was the biggest thing for me. It's like I can't like in the car and then like not have somewhere to deposit.
Jesus
know,
Christ. Jesus Christ.
You have like an empty coffee cup in your car.
That-
Wipes.
Yeah.
not really.
You don't, the leftover McDonald's napkins, nothing.
Oh, I guess you usually have some.
Yeah,
some
I
little-
normally have those.
But it's like then I gotta go dig
you
through a
can prepare-
trash bag for
You can
stuff.
prepare for this shit.
Well, but
I'm so sad I.
But usually it strikes me at the moment, and it's like, oh, now I have a boner.
This is
you know?
all getting edited out.
I'm editing the whole show out. It's going to be Welcome to Atheist Airwaves. Heather skipped out because she's undependable, and done. That's going to be the whole show. So, just to sum up, 1, I think wear your seatbelt. 2, be insured, because I feel like if you do those 2 things,
Don't use your phone.
rolling your car and having a high G orgasm experience might be kind of hot. And so if you're insured and you're not dead, it may be something you want to talk about on a podcast sometime.
And really, his big mistake was getting killed, because if he wasn't dead with his seatbelt off, like he could have pulled his pants up, and nobody would have known. that-
Chances are he would have been unconscious. The paramedics would have showed up, and they'd be like, "Why the fuck is this guy's pants down?" Like,
It was the G-forces, dude. I think it was really intense. It pulled my pants right off.
It definitely would not have been a major story if he wasn't
Right.
dead.
We would not be talking about this guy right now.
It would have just been a man in Florida.
and like he would have had like jizz all over his chest and everything. They're like,
It's all on the windows. It's on the sunroof. It's yeah. Okay. I'm so sorry I put that in the show
That's
sheets.
the best story.
And why did you?
I thought it would be fun, but not as fun as it turned out to be. All right. So in other porn news, there was a Christian op-ed in the Kansas City Star this week about whether porn is a Christian crisis or an exaggerated issue. And personally, I say, let's put an end to porn and save lives on our highways. That's what I say. I think the biggest thing for me about this op-ed was the statistics on American attitudes towards porn. They are so freaking interesting. And the guys, this is a Christian who wrote this piece, and I feel like his conclusions are all messed up, but the results were really cool. So you may have heard of Josh McDowell. He's a Christian apologist, author of Evidence That Demands a Verdict, which I feel like I need to read sometime, but I feel like it'd be very annoying. He says that, quote, porn is probably the greatest threat to the church in its existence.
I could understand that.
I would probably say it was pedophilia.
Well, I mean, as far as like,
Apparently, they've beat that already.
because I mean, well, I mean, the sexual guilt's like the whole reason they keep you in there, right? So if people
That's
are,
exactly right.
looking at porn all the time, then
And
that's
normalizing
less,
sex.
yeah, there'll be less sexual guilt too.
So it's normalizing that it's not. What about the guilt from watching the porn? Like that should be more
Well,
guilt.
But not if it's normalized.
Okay.
And so what happened is that Josh McDowell hired a Barna Group to do a huge study of Americans and porn, Reb, you're gonna feel like a freaking genius having just said this, because he didn't read any of the things we're talking about tonight. They surveyed over 3,000 people, and they released the results this week. So just kind of want to go through the results, the most interesting parts of the results. So first, I want to define pornography. The editor-in-chief of the Barna Group, who did this study, says that the most common definition among Americans... Reb, you didn't read this. What do you think the most common definition of porn among Americans is?
Naked bodies gyrating against each other. I don't even know how you define that. Like,
okay, see, that's a reasonable definition to me. What they found was that most Americans viewed it as any image used for sexual arousal or masturbation, which makes a whole shitload of stuff.
Like the Sears catalog.
Yes, exactly. You know,
National Geographic for some people.
almost any
Some
picture on
older
Facebook.
of us, yeah.
Any Instagram photo.
Yeah.
Any advertisement for anything of clothes.
Pretty much everything is pornography in our culture. So that's not really how I define pornography, but that's how Americans do.
But we're also like super desensitized. Like it's gotta be some real crazy nasty stuff to get us off at this point.
That's sad because it's true. Leslie's just like,
None of us are arguing with Ray.
if you had seen the things that we have seen.
In 3D.
So the first thing is that pornography has become less taboo in the United States. I think based just on our conversation, we can all say that's true, yeah.
Well, I mean, you even see like porn stars having like Twitter accounts with a whole bunch of followers and people looking up to them as
Not ashamed to
Having
be
been
following
on to
them.
shows and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so most definitely sex has become far more normalized just in the last 10 to 20 years.
Sure.
It's only been around for a few billion, so
Right.
I mean,
we got there. We got there.
It was inevitable that sometime it was going to catch on.
and people are more willing to admit that they masturbate these days. People are more willing to admit that they've actually watched and viewed porn on a daily basis even.
I was surprised that everyone was willing to admit they touched themselves while driving. I figured there was no one. I figured no one was going to admit that, but fuck me.
Like, if
He's
no,
over.
right now, if somebody would say, no, I don't really watch porn, I wouldn't believe them. Like,
Yeah, I would either.
that's where we stand.
Yeah, there's the 98% of people
culture
that watch porn and the 2% that
Lie about
Yeah.
it. Right. Yeah, I would not believe somebody that said they didn't watch porn on a fairly regular basis.
Unless they were just asexual people anyway. Like,
Sure, but
there's an
yeah.
exception,
Yeah.
but not
Not
that large
many.
of a one.
They got to
yeah.
prove that shit first, though, probably.
They got to fill out a form.
That's illegal, man. You can't make me fill out a form. That's coercion. So young people, according to this study, have very little problem with porn. 90% of teens aged 13 to 17 and 96% of people from 18 to 24 say that when they talk to their friends about porn, they speak in neutral or positive ways. These are kids who grew up with the easiest access to pornographic material in the history of our species. None of these kids know the struggle.
They don't know.
They don't know.
Yeah, I used to have to like print out pictures off the internet,
Yeah,
hide
fuck
them
you,
in my
Ed.
room somewhere.
Fuck you, Ed. You don't know either. You don't know, like, dumpster diving into the recycling bin of, like, your local town.
I don't
looking
think
for
I
the
would have
nudie
ever
mags.
been that
It
desperate.
was recycling.
Ever.
It wasn't trash. But I jumped into a recycling dumpster and got nudie mags.
Like, I
out
think
of it.
maybe you just have like problems.
That was when I was like 13. That was the only place to get porn. It turned out that
Nope.
there were closer places, but
Pre and early internet ASCII porn. Get out. That's I can't imagine. I mean, they were like full screen ASCII porn images that people were putting on the internet in the late 80s and early 90s. I mean, and they were pretty good.
I've seen some good ASCII images out there. I'd imagine there would have been some good ASCII porn.
Yeah, yeah.
And especially if they have where like you press page down and then like it kind of moves the image like one of those little papers you flip through. Yeah.
Sure.
That could have been cool.
So, also in this study, only 1 in 20 young people report having friends who say viewing porn is bad, and almost all of them view not recycling as more immoral than watching pornography. I love young people. You guys are awesome.
awesome. I just wish they would vote.
Just vote a little bit.
That
or
one porn
caucus.
kid is like the Jesus freak everyone hates.
That's why I imagine that one, the one in what, 20, one in
The 1 in 20.
10,
1 in 20. Yeah.
1 in 20 young adults and 1 in 10 teens.
Oh.
Okay, so another thing that came out of this study, both men and women enjoy pornography. What? Traditionally, porn consumption has been dominated by men, but this study says that women are catching up. 33% of women aged 13 to 24 reported viewing porn at least once a month, which tells me that they really haven't caught up that much.
Right. At least once a month.
That's weak sauce, women.
Are they sure they didn't mean once an hour? Because that,
Yeah.
like, once.
That must be really nice. That must be really nice.
I think I have a problem.
We're all going to therapy after the show. It's group. Can we do group therapy?
I'm sure it exists.
I don't know if Leslie has to go to group therapy. Maybe she has to go to 30% less or 60% less group therapy than we do. What? We may have a problem. I don't know. So another finding found. And as Daryl Ray has said on our show several times before, Christians view pornography at the same rate as non-Christians. Christians either don't or can't live their Christian values. Sex is bad. They have just as much sex as everyone else. Porn is bad. They view just as much porn as everyone else. Feed the hungry and give to the poor. They try to raise $1 million to raise a cross in Corpus Christi. The only thing they appear to do differently from normal Americans is try to make everyone feel guilty about it.
And
That's
lie.
it. And lie. Yeah,
And
they
lie
lie
a lot.
about it. Yeah.
And use less protection.
It's almost like their whole religion's a lie.
Right.
What?
What?
And I don't have the stats in front of me, but there's a lot of southern states that ironically have a lot higher percentage of porn viewed that is homosexual in
Yep.
nature, which is fine if that's what you're into. Just don't
But they're
go
also the most
preaching
homophobic.
Jesus and
Right.
hating. Yeah.
Well, my assumption is like they probably have more gay porn consumption because more of them have to be in the closet.
Right.
Where in northern states, generally, if you're gay, you could probably
Just do what
find
you
a gay
want.
Just,
boyfriend.
right.
You know, yeah.
Have sex with a dude.
Yeah,
and no one cares.
And so while gay people would still watch gay porn, probably wouldn't need to watch it in such a volume
much.
to make up for not being able
Yeah,
to
I would
express themselves.
I would imagine if you were, Cletus in Alabama and you had these secret feelings that you have to watch a lot of porn to bury that.
Sure.
Which is why
I said
porn
the-
addictions don't exist.
I said
it's
bury that.
It's an actual depression somewhere else in your life that's causing it.
That's the first time I've
That was
ever
so
done that on the show.
Wow.
That's the first time I've ever done that
So
on the
quiet.
show. Yeah. So also very, very interesting in this study is that very few pastors and youth pastors say, or I guess admit, that they struggle with porn. Only 14% of pastors and 24% of youth pastors say that they struggle with it. That
They don't
doesn't.
struggle with it. They find it
They
easily.
find it easily, right?
They're more internet savvy.
They know how to get to Bing.
They know how to delete their internet browse history faster and more quick.
But among those pastors who say they do struggle, 87% say they live in constant shame because of it, and 55% say they are always worried about someone finding out. And I am personally 100% positive that these guys are teaching other people in their flock that if they do that, they should feel ashamed. And I mean, I guess they really just think that maybe something's wrong with them and they're just trying to teach other people who don't have wrong things about them what the right thing to do is. I don't know. That's really sad to me.
Well, I guess like if you're a pedophiliac or whatever, like you know that pedophilia is wrong and potentially you might want to tell other people it's wrong too. I mean if that's the way they're viewing porn, I would suppose.
How many Americans do you think are masturbating on the highway right now? It's probably a,
0.01%.
Yeah.
That's probably
that's
a lot of people.
That's a lot
yeah.
of people, yeah.
I'm going to do that math real quick because I think the just for science.
30,000 people.
That's 4 million. I think. I can't be right. I think I typed in a wrong number, but it's a lot
Multiplied
of
by
fucking people.
0.01.
Point zero.
Zero zero zero
Point,
one.
what number are you put? 0.01 on what? What's our population?
Like 400 million.
Oh,
Like
you
300
So
something.
you take
right?
off 2 zeros.
No, that's 1%.
Okay, this is a dumb conversation. Okay, math nerds. Okay,
Whatever.
so staying on the topic of pastors, 41% of all adult Christians say that if a pastor is caught viewing porn, they should be fired, tossed out of the church. Only this is
That
the
can't
best.
lead to anything bad.
This is the best part. Only 8% of pastors agree with them. And I assume those are the only ones who are actually successfully resisting watching porn.
So,
Sears catalog doesn't count.
right. Like, so there is a big difference between pastors and priests. So being a Catholic priest is a celibacy thing where, you're not supposed to do it at all. Being a pastor for a Methodist, Lutheran,
Speaking from experience.
yes, speaking from experience, they're really just normal people that went to a college that they got a degree or whatever. They have sex. They do like terrible things all the time. Like if you really think that your pastor is above and beyond and better than thou, like you need to really talk to them and other people, because that is really not the case. And actually, I don't know that I've ever met a pastor that didn't say exactly what I just said. Like, look, I'm not a great person. Like, so I don't mind it if they're not being hypocritical about it.
Right.
I guess is my point. So, like,
I think that's a good point.
if you're a pastor and watching porn, just as long as you don't get up on the pulpit and say don't watch porn, then fine. I don't care.
I'm in with you on that.
Are you in with me?
We're so in.
At least we're recording.
All right, so 38% of pastors called pornography a major or significant problem, but they don't list it as the most significant problem facing their congregants. They list those as spiritual immaturity, a lack of biblical knowledge, pride, and lack of church involvement. So the first thing I want to say is, guys, lack of biblical knowledge actually helps you.
Yeah.
You should want more of that.
Yeah, only tell them what you want them to know.
Right. The problem, you should say, is too many of our former congregants know too much about the Bible. That's the number one way to get rid of your congregation, is to tell them what the Bible says, in my view.
Like literally what it says.
Right. I mean, that was my first step into atheism. I actually read the Bible and I was like, oh,
Trick people into reading the
Right,
Bible.
yeah.
That's what we have to do.
All you have to do is like give them the real version of the, like when they were little in Sunday school version of the story that they know. Like if you tell them what actually happened, but what the fuck?
I gotta tell you, like, I also had that feeling. I mean, that was exactly my feeling when I got to high school. Like, I felt like everything I was told religiously in my Catholic grade school, I got to high school, and it was a Jesuit high school, and they taught us actual things. Like, yeah, the Red Sea didn't actually part. It thins out and whatever, and you can walk across it.
And the wind blows a little bit.
Right. And I was like, this is not what I was told. But I had the same feeling about things like our country, like Thanksgiving, and a whole bunch of other things. I was like, our country's actually, we've done some pretty shitty things.
It's like Thanksgiving is
A
like
few.
that's like the least egregious thing. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we're already starting to whitewash slavery and things like
Yeah.
that. So one day it's going to be like, oh yeah, those nice happy slaves, and they just so loved working for their white masters. Then you get to high school and go, oh no. Well, actually, it probably won't be till you get into college where you realize like, oh no, slavery was bad.
Does anybody else hate the voice Reb just used to say, "Oh, those slaves"?
A little bit.
Well, I figured that's how like a naive person
Yeah.
would sound when talking about the pleasures of slavery.
So, last point out of this study that Josh McDowell sponsored, almost everyone in this study agreed that kiddie porn and rape are bad.
Well,
Thanks,
there was
Americans.
consensus on that.
Almost everyone.
Almost everyone. Almost. There's the NAMBLA people. Yeah. So, I will. So the writer's ultimate conclusion was that, pornography is a serious problem facing the church in America and Christians in America, and that they shouldn't bury their head in the sand about that issue, but that they also shouldn't overreact to it, that it's not, horrible. And they also kind of point to some problems that porn introduces, things like objectification of women and predatory behavior against women and especially teenagers. And we've talked about it on the show before, that those are legitimate criticisms of porn and porn culture. So
and the working standards, that you find in some studios are not great.
Sure. So, and I would agree with him on that those are things that should be addressed.
But those are all things that we should do to improve the quality of our porn.
Right. They're not an indictment of pornography itself. They are, yeah.
Right. So just like locking workers into a factory that then burns down is not an indictment of factories.
Right.
It's an indictment of work practices. Don't take my porn, man.
I just have to say, I feel like the quality of sex that I have has definitely increased as porn has become more mainstream.
Really?
And I mean that like so as a 90s kid, chicks are definitely doing more things than they did back then. and not just things like, oh, well, that's something he wants to do. Like that. Okay, they figured out they liked what that is.
Like
and that's
more
what they
butt
wanted.
stuff.
Butt stuff. Other stuff.
Can we get a
That's
list?
really true on the other side too, though.
Sure.
For men, yeah. Yeah.
More men are more comfortable with having fingers up their butt,
Oh, yeah.
So
Although I gotta say,
And
Just
admitting
from-
to that.
just from personal experience, I feel like there's a lot more cunnilingus in porn than there used to be. Like a lot. No? I'm the only one who thinks that?
I don't know.
depends.
I usually skip past that.
Yeah.
So it's like that's boring.
That part doesn't do it for me. So I'm like, yeah, that was there.
Okay,
I
so-
hear what you're saying. But
Like 5 seconds.
Like I don't mind if it's like two lesbians going down a show. Like I'm cool with that. Like that's kind of erotic. But if it's like a dude going down, I'd
I
rather
don't like
just
watching
skip that.
blowjobs either.
Yeah, I don't like the blowjobs either. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually skip blowjobs mostly.
No, this is like two dudes giving each other blowjobs.
you guys are idiots.
Really? Really?
Really.
So okay. So what is the thing that you mostly like that you're definitely not skipping? This is like the porn episode. I don't know why.
The initial insertion that to me
really?
is the most important part. Like that's the part I like the most.
Interesting. Leslie?
The coming,
Really?
Yeah.
Male or
there-
female or both?
both.
Yeah. There are clips out there where they cut that off and then they put up the ad to go to their fucking site. And I'm like, oh, well, you fucking ruined it for me.
You son of a bitch.
Those are the worst.
All right, so before we move on, I want to remind everyone of upcoming events. We are currently running the book club. We're reading A Manual for Creating Atheists. Anthony Magnabosco is going to come down on February 20th. He's going to sit in on the book club readings.
Where is that going to be at?
It's either going to be at the Flower Bluff Library or we've already got a room booked at the university if we can't get that room at the library. So stay tuned for the location. It'll be the afternoon of February 20th, Saturday. If you don't feel like reading the book, after we hold our book club meeting, he's going to give a talk afterwards about his experience doing street epistemology a lot.
I wonder if he's going to have an updated slideshow.
I bet he will. But we'll see. We've Reb and I
I
have
was going to say, you guys went and saw him speak in
Yeah.
San Antonio. Right?
It was his very first speech ever, so it was a little rusty. So I'd like to see what improvements he makes.
Well, the speech itself wasn't rusty, but
his presentation
He couldn't get the presentation working as well as.
and his timing was a little off for some
Right.
of the stuff. Yeah.
I'm sure it's much improved now. But I even given that
he
it was
just
the first.
he just texted me he's not coming now.
Even given that, I just thought it was a great presentation, and especially while I was watching other people who weren't as well versed as we were in street epistemology and what he's doing, and their reactions, and how like when he was he would give quizzes throughout the whole thing, and he'd say, "What would you say at this?" He would play a video clip. Okay, what do you say to this theist? And the people who weren't like, for me, it was like all of them were really easy.
Yeah.
All the answers were really easy, but I was looking around and like a lot of atheists had no idea what. And I believe in what he's doing. I really do. So,
Although I did like at the end, it's like, does anyone have any supernatural beliefs? So they'd like me to street epistemologist on them?
are you really going to stand up?
And like
and-
everyone like looks around, it's like, get your stones ready.
Yeah, who's going to stand up in a room like that and say, "I believe in ghosts"? No one, if they're smart. Patreon.com/Atheist Airwaves. If you would like to support our show for as little as $1 an episode, you can get access to our post-show content. Tonight we're going to be talking about a few things. I'm going to talk about some woo shit that happens at my work. Leslie's going to talk about Christian party cheating thing.
Okay.
And she's also going to be talking about dress codes in Kansas legislature.
Wait, those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ryan is going to talk about a thing he saw called Being Ginger.
Oh, the documentary.
Yes.
Documentary, yeah. Netflix thing. We've only got a few minutes left. Do we want to take... So we've got our choice between... I'll let Reb decide. So we've got a choice between a bishop in Canada who's totally upset about LGBTQ tolerant guidelines being anti-Catholic. We've got an upside-down cross outside Florida City Hall. And we've got a priest who set a member of their church on fire.
Let's go with the upside down cross.
Oh, interesting decision.
I'm surprised. The other two sounded more.
I think that's the best decision.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so
that's-
too.
Well, because anything that involving him, that's stuff we can participate in, kind of.
Involving who?
Chaz.
Chaz? Okay.
Well, especially considering the big cross coming up here in Corpus Christi. Yeah.
They're never going to get $900,000. They're never going to get that. It's not going to happen.
Plus, like the upkeep and then like
Stop trying to
property
make-
taxes and everything else.
Stop trying to make Corpus Christi Cross a thing. It's not going to happen. Chaz Stevens of Florida countered a nativity scene in a menorah at the Hollandale Beach City Hall with a holiday display of his own. It's a giant inverted cross which reads, "In Chaz we trust, all others pay cash." So
Who's Chaz?
He's the guy.
He's the guy.
Oh,
He's the
yeah.
atheist Florida guy who does this kind of thing.
He's the Festivus pole guy.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's
Well,
the one
was
that
he
wants
the
to put the
beer can?
rainbow Festivus. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He wants to put the rainbow Festivus pole in every.
Oh, he wants to defile the traditional
capital-
Festivus pole.
Yeah,
Right.
it's rainbow with the disco ball on top, but it has a purpose.
Let me ask this question before we go further with this story. How does everyone feel about an inverted cross versus something like a Festivus pole or a separation of church and state banner?
I don't care.
Depends on what his purpose was, I guess. Like, if it was there just to like troll Christians, congratulations, buddy.
That's his
Hell
whole-
yeah.
That's what he does. very
Yeah,
well.
I don't.
And he does it for change, but he has some fun with it, obviously.
Yeah, if you're going to set up open forum, I don't care what the fuck you put in there as long as it's awesome.
So, I personally think I like this more.
More
You
than the
like this?
banner, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a little more aggressive.
Yeah, and I'm open to criticism. Got it, atheistairwaves.com if you want to tell me I'm an asshole.
You know, he never reads those on the show.
I do if they're interesting.
Yeah, so use flowery language.
And I want to back up just a second because in the last week or two people have sent me very interesting emails that I haven't read on the show. It's not because they weren't interesting. It's because I just couldn't get to them. But I feel like there is an argument to be made that being nice might be... I mean, Anthony Magnabosco is going to come down here and make that argument in a month. So I get it.
But he's nice in a one-on-one basis with someone if you want to have a good conversation about faith and what it means to you. This is like, you guys get to put crosses and all kinds of other shit to rub in our face.
Check
well,
this
guess
shit out.
what? Now you're going to have to get this rubbed in your face too.
Yeah, I think you need all of the avenues of,
I agree with that.
There's
100%.
room for
Fighting-
all of it.
atheist
Every
persecution.
tool in your toolbox.
Yes.
Exactly. I think you have to have the nice people. You have to have the people who are like go along to get along. and you need to have aggressive activists in
Yep.
any movement. I think both are necessary, and I don't like anyone who criticizes people who are being too nice. I don't like anyone who criticizes people like, oh, you're being too mean to them. I think you need both.
No, it's like I don't know. I see like the Black Lives Matter stuff where they're shutting down highways. I think that's awesome, and that's exactly what you should do.
Because I'm not a person. I could never do what Anthony does. I don't like fucking people. I don't have that kind
You
of
don't like
fucking
fucking
patience.
people?
I don't like people. I don't have that kind of patience. Like, fuck that. Like, I'm gonna call you a dumbass. But Anthony doesn't, and he does what he does, and I go on Facebook and call people stupid. I mean, we're all helping the world.
Is that what you're doing, Ryan? Is that what you're doing? I wasn't aware of that.
One Facebook post at a time. One meme at a time.
So here's the real reason we're covering this story this week, Reb. Shortly after he put up his inverted cross display, the government had a sign printed and placed in front of it that reads, "This display has been privately installed as an expression of religious freedom. The views expressed do not represent the city's administration."
Did they put that sign up in front of all the fucking religious displays?
No, they did not.
That's
Those
a very
motherfuckers. Those motherfuckers.
And to me, doesn't that implicitly mean that they do
Absolutely.
Yep.
represent the city's?
That sounds about right. Unless they put that sign up in front of every single other
Which I think they're
display.
going to have to do that now.
That's so amazing.
Which is a step. He did something.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, technically, the laws already say that they don't, these don't represent the
Right.
government, but now, like, they're going to have to put that sign up
I think
everywhere.
somebody got a little overzealous, and now it's going to cost them more sign printage.
And I love it.
Yeah. And it's very simple. Like, if somebody's like, oh, well, what do you mean you have to put up one in front of all of them? Like, okay,
We were kind of assholes, and so...
the nativity was there. If the nativity was there beforehand and you didn't put that sign up in front of that, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because, and the nativity scenes have been up for years, and they haven't. And I'm surprised that it even said, like, these views they're not the views of the people who work for City Hall or whatever. It's like, not may or may not, like, definitely not.
Does not. Yeah. It's not necessarily
Right.
represent. It does not.
Because that's the standard disclaimer, is when
Right.
you have some woo guy on TV, they have to say, like,
The city's administration.
Right.
Yeah,
Does
NBC does
not.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. No, does not necessarily is what they usually
Yeah.
say. Here, this is an implicit statement saying we've got Judeo-Christian shit over here, and we've got Chaz over here, and we do not agree with this, which means they do agree with this stuff.
Don't they have a lawyer to run this shit by
Oh.
now?
Yeah,
I mean,
it
he
was
keeps
probably-
doing this stuff.
It's probably some little old lady and the secretary in some office is like, oh, no, I don't think so. And then she printed it out and then just put on little signposts.
that's who we really need extra training for, is the elderly working in government. I'm going to hell. If there were one.
If there were one, you would go. Yes. Most of us would.
But no, and that's exactly the point. Like, I think this is somebody overzealous or just couldn't believe that they had to put the upside down cross or Festivus pole or whatever it was, and had to do something about it.
Did he install that, or did they have to put that up?
I think they probably allow people, to put up their own displays, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He put it up.
Okay.
I think we're done. I think we have had enough disgusting show for
The show was awesome.
it kind of was. It was totally gross, but totally awesome. Thank you for listening to Atheist Airwaves, sponsored by Corpus Christi Atheists and the South Texas Coalition of Reason. If you would like to compliment, complain, or make a suggestion, please write to us at god@atheistairwaves.com. God is our receptionist, and he will forward on your message to us, and we will, if you're entertaining enough, read it on the air. Thank you to Tombstone to Dead Man for our outro music. Patreon.com/Atheist Airwaves if you would like to support our show. We're going to the post-show topic for all of you people who... Is the debate over yet? No, probably not. So no one's going to be in the chat room for that. Literally, we have 2 comments. At 8:30, someone said finger fucking. And at 9:02, someone said dirty finger fucking. Everyone is watching the debate.
And that's all inside stuff that no one would understand.
I don't even understand
Finger
it.
fucking?
So, well, I understand. I know what that
It's
is.
the-
I get it. You put insert finger.
No.
There have been some videos.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday at 7:30 Central.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Being a skeptic means so much more than being an atheist. And until you accept that, you won't relate to this. The cognitive dissonance that you experience is when there's things you claim to believe in but ain't living it. Most of you say you are the type to question everything until I hear the conspiracy theories that you echoing. And when I scrutinize the things you try to say are lies, expose your sources as suspect, I see your logic dies. Some still believe in pseudosciences, engage in special pleading when theists use the exact same reasoning. I've even seen atheists use arguments from ignorance and seem well-pressed to tell me exactly just what the difference is. A skeptic without the ability to analyze is just as bad as the fears, cause he'll probably accept a lie. Just as long as it verifies all his biases, applying it to his knowledge pool, and then he's diving in. So I'm not saying that some conspiracies do not exist. I'm just saying that a lot of them are some bullshit. So I'ma call a spade no matter who asserts it. Nobody's perfect, and just one lie, then it's all perverted. Bring down the curtains on that sad display. The only ways to question yourself and all the things you say. Start the day, and maybe we can rise above and be examples for others to emulate, and that's the way we win this battle. So this is where I'm making my stand, and now regardless who don't like it or how they get mad, see why the rest of y'all capitulate and go with the plan. I'll be beating on this wall until I'm breaking my hand. So listen while I state official policy. No matter how I'm threatened with hell, then never silence me. I know that you don't see this as imperative, but I refuse to lose and let the stupid frame the narrative.
That he doesn't like Megyn Kelly.
Stop.
So I'm relative. I mean, you put out a whole press release and everything.
I have to go to the bathroom. I'm just going to stop the recording.